Hello everybody, this is Grand Tactician, the Civil War, playing the Confederate campaign. We started in the spring of 1861. It is currently in the middle of February 1862. We find Albert Sidney Johnston's Army of the West invading into Illinois, the small town of Pinckneyville, where they run into 20,000 Union troops under General Harney. In this episode, you will see fierce fighting over a stone wall at the Nichols farm outside the town of Copperton. Some of the most desperate fighting we've seen in the entire war. All that and much more in the next episode of Grand Tactician, the Civil War. Here we are in the deployment phase for the Battle of Pinckneyville, and Albert Sidney Johnston's Army of the West up against the Union Army. Let's see if we push forward on the other side of the river. What's the name of this river? Hoedown River. So we are awaiting Price's Corps, which, if we take a look at the headquarter dispatches, so we can expect Price's Corps to arrive in 2 hours. The battle is starting mid-morning at 10 a.m. We have about 2 hours before Price's Corps arrives. That leaves us almost 45,000 men with an additional 22,000 men to reinforce, I believe, a force of 28,000 men. So the Union greatly outnumbered here. Now Hood has a large corps. We could maybe do a flanking maneuver with Buckner. Maybe they can take the road near the Bowman farmhouse and along Mason Hill to outflank the Union forces at Copperton, with Hood's large corps in front of Copperton. Now also, we don't know how the Union is going to line up here. The Union controls all objectives. I shouldn't say all, we have the southern objectives. Cooper is the artillery reserve under Hood. We'll line Donelson up in the forest here. Actually, I think we'll switch Breckenridge and Donelson. Breckenridge Division looks a little bit more mobile with that cavalry unit attached. The Army of the West, we have not consolidated our cavalry into its own corps like we have out east. That is something we may want to consider doing. Ruggles is already broken. So we have a broken unit on the field already. So we will try to... We'll push forward if we need to with Hood's. We will probably start off with a defensible position here along the Hoedown Road. We'll keep the guns in reserve. And then we will try to push along the Mason Hill Road and see if we can't outflank the Union position. We don't know. Maybe the Union is on Mason Hill. We don't know. In that case, we'll push forward with Hood into Copperton. We have the advantage of superior numbers in this battle. We will fortify Hood's position just in case the Union goes on the offensive. We're going to try a parapet here for the artillery. All right, let's get the Battle of Pinckneyville started. So Buckner's actually out of range of Johnston, so we'll actually move Johnston a little bit closer to Buckner. We'll move forward with Withers' division. Gain access to the Mason Hill Road. With Loring. Now they are kind of on hilly ground, so we gotta keep an eye on their fatigue level as they march out. Probably could send Toombs out in front to scout ahead. Same thing with Field's cavalrymen. We hear some shots being fired, but we don't see the Union troopers yet. We can send out some skirmishers, see if we can't locate the enemy position. We see the Union Army advancing into or through Copperton. And we wonder how much of Buckner's corps they can actually detect. We'll send Toombs to occupy the Mason Hill objective. We'll order the 1st Artillery to bombard Copperton. So we're going to push our artillery to a forward position, which may be risky as I see a lot of Union brigades now moving forward. Let's see if we can't get into position to unload some artillery fire on the Federal troopers. All right, we're going to move forward with Breckenridge. We're going to try to set up some skirmishers here in front of the Nichols stone wall. I think we're just going to use it, move forward and try to keep the Union position right here. So we'll face the Union as they're coming out of Copperton before they can kind of form up for an assault. This may be unwise to leave our fortified position like we have. Taking a little bit of risk here. Actually, we can get behind this stone wall ourselves for... So we make the Union troops from gaining access to Nichols' stone wall. Although moving Garnett's artillery caused quite a few casualties. I will say this stream in front of us here looks like it might provide a natural obstacle to a Union assault. Why don't we see how Breckenridge is doing? Withers, thought I set him to go a little bit further. The way is clear though, so they can march using the road. Toombs will keep advancing. Fields will kind of screen the march. Let's move up our artillery reserve. We're going to move them up right here across the Richards stream here. We've got Breckenridge moving to secure the left flank of Hood's position. And the Louisiana State Militia get in behind the wall. We've got to move up Hood. Make sure our division commanders are in range. So Duncan's men have found a nice position here to command this area around Nichols' stone wall. Union commander suffering some disgruntled general disobeying orders. We gain access to a defensive position along the stream here, right in front of the Richards house. And Price arrives. So Price should be arriving from the east. And that's quite alright. It would have been much better if he was arriving from the Howell Bridge Road. We'll just use him to reinforce Hood. And maybe he can get in and around reinforce Hood, and then kind of inch his way over, more over to the left of, or to the right of the Union position. Because we already have a wide arching flanking maneuver by Breckenridge. I'm sorry, by Buckner. Although they did not do as I had ordered. It looks like we have a Union brigade assaulting Duncan's position on the stone wall. Charging an infantry charge attack. They have a local superiority in numbers. You see Anderson's cavalry is there to counterattack if need be. We also have Colonel John Bowen and Felix Robertson also coming in to reinforce. Looks like there's another, they're going to try to assault Crossland and Maxey's position here too along the stream, so a heavy-handed assault by the Union commander. Looks, well, we look flanked though. We have some artillery though that can support the defense. Looks like we are driving off this Union brigade. We have Hazen and Hurlbutt, Lyon are some of the names I can see there. Let's bring Gracie forward as reinforcements. I mean, casualties look negligible by Crossland and Maxey. It looks like we are routing back the 1st Brigade. Let's look at the stone wall. It seems very aggressive by the Union. I wonder how much of the patch is affecting some of the changes here. I don't know if the Union might be overly aggressive. So Duncan, though, has taken the most losses. It's still only 85 men. How are we doing on Mason Hill? Looks like Withers is struggling, though, to push his men forward along the elevated roads. The rest of Price's corps is arrived. Let's march them over to Spencer's Plain. Keep pushing around that flank. See, Brian will be in will position him in to relieve Duncan if necessary, as Duncan's been holding back a swarm of blue. Listen, it looks like they're going to try to flank our position. We just need to check that assault there. Knight's artillery's done a good job holding the center of that line. Also looks like providing some flanking fire.
Oh, Woodruff was broken by sheer weight of numbers. We need to halt Brian. Hopefully we can get the order and he can just plug this gap. So Woodruff out of nowhere just started losing men as a sea of blue swarms over the stone wall. What else do we have in reserve? We're gonna have to use Anderson to plug this gap in the middle, and maybe Gracie's 1st Confederate Infantry. Oh, we still have Forney's brigade also in reserve, so we have ample reserves. All right, Brian wheels right and begins firing on the Union troopers that have gotten right over the wall.
Desperate hand-to-hand fighting for that wall.
Anderson's going to make a charge to plug that gap that formed in the middle to buy time for some of our infantry that is on its way to reinforce the line. Frontal assault by the Union. Order some skirmishers too. We got, even though these Union troopers look pretty broken, they could pose a threat to us.
So why don't we see if Forney can take these Union 3rd Brigade as prisoners, as they have wandered in behind our lines and look very disordered and ragged. So 2nd Brigade here is trying to turn the flank. That looks like Cook's division, and I can't tell the brigade name. It's Harney's command, so that's the Army commander. They still haven't done the core system on the Union side. Trelly or Cook, but I need to push Robertson right into their flank. Throw some skirmishers out there to get their attention, and we'll send in Robertson behind. Also, why don't we get Bowen's cavalry involved? We can hit them right from the rear there. Let's see how this all works out. Looks like Bowen's men are taking on heavy casualties, though, and are driven off. So a cavalry attack in the rear of that Union position is ending in disaster. Brian wounded from the Texas State Militia. Here's the situation on our right flank right now. It looks like Maxey's brigade is suffering very heavy casualties. And we have Price's corps, though, on the way. All right, so Buckner is taking the majority of the afternoon to try to get in on the flank here. And is still kind of far off from the main battle, as they've disrupted. All right, I've detached Toombs. Well,
we'll try to get Hooger's guns up here and Wadsworth. Maybe they can rain some fire down on Copperton and partake in this battle before it's over. 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Very cold day.
You can hear the desperate struggles around the stone wall.
So the cavalry charge by Bowen's brigade failed, even though we hit their flank. Although this looks like too many bluecoats there to be effective. Oh, they rallied. Well, that's fine. We're going to have them fall back anyways. We still have Robertson's brigade, though, that can hit this infantry from the flank. Duncan is trying to hold his ground along the stone wall. Heavy melee fighting all along Nichols' stone wall. Probably some of the bloodiest, most savage fighting of the war so far along this stone wall.
A North Carolinian private recalls how savage the fighting was at the stone wall that day.
Anderson somehow looking relatively unscathed. I feel like we need to get him out of there too. Maxey has fought extremely well, even though suffering amazing casualties. Let's send Gracie in to replace. We're going to try to have Maxey fall back. Gracie's going to come in and try to, with some skirmishers, hold that line there.
Looks like they're performing the fall back maneuver very well, as Maxey's men have not broken.
You know, it looks like this 3rd Brigade is pretty broken, but I don't like them behind our lines. Woodruff is unstable. All right, Robertson is in position along the stone wall. He's already tired, though. Oh, that unit is broken. But there's got the 3. They have 4 brigades along. I think that's Richardson's Creek. Richards. So, yeah, they have 4 brigades and an artillery battery along Richards. Or actually, this is Wolf Creek, anchored by Richards' house. Then you have the Nichols stone wall here that they're defending. Buckner has not done a good job getting his men over into the rear of the Union position.
Why don't we help Buckner's corps get moving along here and start sending in orders?
I'm trying to order the individual brigades to form up.
Let's order Loring's division straight across the Bowman Creek here and try to link up with Breckenridge division.
All right, Maxey has fallen back. Man, they have suffered a lot of casualties. But Gracie has brought in a fresh 2,600 man brigade to reinforce Maxey and relieve those troops.
Over here on the right flank.
Crossland has lost heavy casualties as well. Garnett, although suffered casualties right off the bat as he moved into a forward position, he has held his position very well. Federals hand-to-hand fighting with Robertson now, trying to force him off that stone wall. The Union trying to fight for this stone wall as if their lives depended on it, and it very well might be that. Duncan has suffered a lot of casualties as well. Lost resilience is about to hit max. Bryan, although his brigade, he has suffered and is wounded in action, he has brought his brigade relatively in fresh condition. Let's see if we can wheel them to help support Duncan here on the stone wall. All our reserves from Hood's Corps, though, are pretty exhausted for the most part, but we have Price's Corps, though, advancing in earnest. We might have to order them to double time it to get in position. We do have Fournay here, actually. Maybe we can bring him up right here.
Let's call on Fournay to get in position to kind of reinforce this apex that we have in the center of the line.
So Fournay's men all dressed in red here, moving forward into position. Fournay's Red Raiders. Oh, Robertson has disintegrated. Oh my lord. His whole command is disintegrated. That's a huge change in events. He was doing well. Breckenridge is demoralized. Oh wow. Breckenridge's division is dead on the field. Well, living up to Hood's name, Hood is doing what Hood does best. Just laying men after men. Human shield. Human wave attack. So if Bryan has Fournay kind of supporting him on the right flank, Bryan can come over here now. See if we can get Pemberton's guns maybe in a better position here. Trebu's guns are in a good position. What are the casualties? What are the reported casualties on these federal troops? 537, 681. I mean, they're bleeding too, but we seem to be bleeding more. Although they must be bleeding pretty bad. If we look at the victory bar here, own casualties 5,000 of 65, so only 8%. Even though we have more casualties, as a percentage of the force, it is much lower than their 4,500 casualties. To gain a major victory, you need to inflict more than 33% casualties on the enemy, while your own losses may not surpass 19%. Military experience increases these triggers. A major victory reduces the enemy's readiness and supplies dramatically. So our morale overall remains high at 63. That's because we have a whole fresh corps on the way. We also have a corps that hasn't even really committed to the attack. Hood's corps has done all the fighting. Let's bring Lawton over here. We'll go right up the road with B. We're going to try to get Loring's division to move off Mason's Hill. So that's Pierce's brigade and Edmund Kirby Smith's brigade. We're still going to move Anderson. They're finally off Mason Hill and in the rear of the Union position. They have some distance to go. Apparently we don't have enough. Okay, they are currently trying to take Mason Hill Road here. Field will lead the way and scout ahead. So it looks like we'll be able to finally get Buckner's corps into position here to get in behind the Union position. Might be entering the final stages of the battle here. All right, so Fournay's brigade plugs up the center of the line. Bryan's wounded Texas militia, though, is going to try to secure the left flank. I wonder if the federal commander notices the movement off Mason Hill. So Hood has conceded the wall to the Federals for now,
and is waiting on Buckner's Corps to get in behind the Union position.
I mean, they are just like lobbing stones across the ripping stones off the wall and chucking at them. They're like point blank range across the wall here.
Looks like Fournet's skirmishers have already had enough.
Fournet's trying to get in position here to flank the 1st Brigade. It looks like they have. So you see the little flank modifier on the 1st Brigade there. 3rd Brigade is falling back. So it looks like the Union position, they might be falling back as they realize that they are just suffering too much casualties. They have inflicted, unfortunately, Duncan has broken, which I expected was about to happen. I wanted to keep him there anyways. Duncan losing lots of men. Finally, Buckner's Corps is getting into position. We've got Pierce ready. We might have to push this attack piecemeal, but I think we just need to start getting into that flank aggressively. So Pierce will lead the charge. Smith will form up. Try to unlimber. They in range to fire. Maybe they might be too far. Let's take a position up here. We'll move Wadsworth's gun ahead, forward with these 12-pound Napoleon guns. A little bit closer range. O'Brien also falling back now. We are going to dismount our cavalry under Anderson, and maybe they can get some fire in on the Federals. Did an impressive job taking the stone wall, but they took heavy casualties to do it. As you see the Richards house burning in the foreground. Pierce now engaged with the Federals near the stone wall. Looks like the Union troops are trying to address the rear area, though they have the 2nd Brigade, who looks like they are broken. They do have Cochrane. No, I think that's a broken brigade too. So really they have broken brigades that have retreated back. Toombs secured the McDaniel farm. All right, we will get Holmes and George Anderson in position. They're going to come right through this forested terrain outside of Copperton. And behind the Federal position, Fielders is going to come in and try to pick up these stragglers.
Well, everybody, if you've made it this far, kindly do me a favor and hit that like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. That will help notify you about the next video, which will be the exciting conclusion to the Battle of Pinckneyville.